I drove 18 straight hours to claim my grandfather's ranch, and before the dust from my tires had even settled, a woman I'd never met told me the HOA had already sold it. Then she pulled out her phone and called 911 on me. 3 months after I buried my grandfather, I was standing on his land being treated like a criminal for simply showing up. For a few seconds, I honestly thought exhaustion had finally caught up with me. 18 hours alone on the road does strange things to your brain. I'd left Seattle before sunrise, fueled by bad gas station coffee and grief I didn't know where to put. I kept telling myself the drive would help me process everything. The funeral, the hospital room, the way my grandfather squeezed my hand one last time like he was trying to say something without words. Instead, the farther I drove, the heavier it all became. When I finally turned onto County Road 39, everything slowed down. The cell signal dropped. The noise disappeared. The sky opened up in that way you only get in rural places where it feels like it goes on forever. That ranch had always been my reset button. Grandpa Joe used to say, land like that reminded you who you really were because it didn't care who you worked for or how important you thought you were. You respected it or it humbled you. I pulled up to the gate he built decades ago. Same crooked hinge, same weather-worn wood. I shut off the engine and just sat there for a moment breathing. This was supposed to be the start of something quiet. Healing, maybe. Instead, it became the beginning of the worst confrontation of my life. I hadn't even stretched my legs when I saw her, marching across the dirt like she owned it, clipboard tight against her chest, sunglasses reflecting the sun so I couldn't see her eyes. Every step was sharp, intentional, practiced. The kind of walk that says she's used to people moving out of her way. "Excuse me," she said, not slowing down. "You need to leave, immediately." I glanced around confused. "I'm sorry. What?" "You're trespassing on HOA property," she snapped, "and I don't appreciate the attitude." That word HOA felt completely wrong out there, like hearing a car alarm in the middle of the wilderness. "There is no HOA here," I said. "This is my grandfather's ranch." She let out an exaggerated sigh. "I'm Patricia Moreland, president of the Sage Valley Homeowners Association. This property was seized for unpaid dues and sold at auction 2 weeks ago. The new owners take possession tomorrow." She thrust a packet of papers toward me. My hands started shaking as I took them. Official language, stamps, signatures, all the things designed to intimidate people into compliance. "That's impossible," I said. "My grandfather owned this land outright. There's no HOA." Patricia smiled. Not friendly, not warm. The kind of smile someone gives when they're enjoying the moment. "The HOA was established in 2019. All properties within our boundaries are automatically enrolled. Your grandfather was notified multiple times. He was in hospice," I said. "And this land was never in any HOA boundary." She waved that away like it was irrelevant. "County lines change. Now if you don't leave immediately, I'll have to escalate this." That was when I felt the first real jolt of fear. Not panic. Just that cold realization that this woman wasn't bluffing. She believed she had authority here. Or worse, she knew she didn't and didn't care. I pulled out my folder. Deed, will, death certificate. My name is Jake Morrison. This property was left to me free and clear. She glanced at it for maybe half a second. "Outdated documents. The sale is finalized." "You sold my grandfather's land while he was dying," I said. My voice cracked despite my effort to keep it steady. Her expression hardened instantly. "Your behavior is becoming hostile." Before I could even process that accusation, she pulled out her phone. "I'm calling 911. You're refusing to leave HOA property." I just stood there as she turned away and started talking to the dispatcher, her voice suddenly shaky and fearful. "Aggressive male. Trespassing. She feels unsafe." I watched her pace back and forth, nodding dramatically, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly powerless. And then the doubt crept in. Quiet, dangerous doubt. What if I missed something? What if there really was a loophole? Grief messes with your confidence. It makes you second-guess things you know are true. I hated myself for even thinking it, but it was there. I called Linda Chavez, my grandfather's lawyer. The one person who had always been rock solid. "Jake," she said, "you made it. There's a woman here saying the HOA sold the ranch." There was a pause. Then her voice dropped. "That's not possible." Those 3 words steadied me more than anything else could have. "She's calling the cops." "Stay right where you are," Linda said. "I'm on my way." When the sheriff's deputies arrived, Patricia rushed them like a survivor running toward rescuers. Tears, trembling hands, claims that I'd been yelling and threatening her. It was surreal watching her flip the switch so easily. The older Deputy Martinez turned to me. "Sir, can you explain what's going on?" I handed him my paperwork. "This is my grandfather's land. I inherited it. She's claiming an HOA sold it." He examined the documents carefully. Meanwhile, his partner questioned Patricia. "Ma'am," the deputy asked, "do you have proof this property is within your HOA boundaries?" She fumbled. "It's in the master plat." "And proof the owner received notice." "The letters were sent to the property address." "He was dying," I said quietly. Martinez sighed. "This is a civil matter. No one's being arrested today." Patricia's face flushed red. "You'll regret this," she hissed at me as the deputies left. 2 hours later, Linda arrived with maps, plats, and county records. She spread them across the porch like she was preparing for battle. "Jake," she said, "this land is outside their jurisdiction. There was no foreclosure, no auction, no legal sale. This was fabricated." The word hit hard. Fabricated. Not a mistake. Not confusion. Theft. That night alone in my grandfather's house, the weight of everything finally crushed me. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the wood he'd refinished himself decades earlier. For the first time, I wondered if it would be easier to walk away, to sell, to let it go. The thought made my chest ache. Then I remembered my grandfather fixing fences in the heat, refusing to cut corners, always saying, "You don't quit just because someone pushes." 3 weeks later, I watched Patricia Moreland being led out of her home in handcuffs. Fraud, forgery, attempted theft. Turns out I wasn't the only one she'd tried this on. The HOA sent me an apology letter. I framed it and hung it next to my grandfather's ranch sign. Some people think authority is power, but real power is knowing the truth and refusing to move when someone tries to take what's yours.